Hi guys, Abbott's Wood. It's the 15th of April 2025. I'm trying this out, okay? So, can I do this when I just have like an on spur of the moment idea? Is there going to be any value in that? My thoughts at the moment were about free will, freedom of the will, if you like, and the what appears to be the overwhelmingly consensual uh, view prevalent at the moment that free will is an illusion. It's either a kind of epiphenomena of our existence that has no value, and all loads of words there pregnant with meaning that needs to be debated. But basically, from the Sapolsky, Sam Harris, Alex O'Connor, um, a lot of the people out there in YouTube land and on social media are now convinced that there's no such thing as free will. And I think that part of the motivation for that, though this is not explicit, is their rejection of theology, and free will is a big part of the Christian and Judeo-Christian theology as a kind of explanation, if you can call it that, of theodicy or the problem of evil. God has given us free will, therefore bad things can happen because we choose the wrong path. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is the fact that, like other arguments that we will encounter, there's a kind of like vicious circle here in terms of statement, the evidential basis for that statement, the reduction that applies to it when you drill down behind the statement, and then the vicious circle that appears when you find you can't break out of the conceptual bind. And the conceptual bind for me sits within the issues of cause and effect. So once you're looking at cause and effect, what causes an effect, and you start your understanding, as it were, even it might be metaphorical or analogous, but it's still there as kind of the conceptual apparatus that you bring to bear on the question of free will, is based upon a prior consideration of cause and effect. Everything has a cause, right? And in physics, you can see where the cause and effect argument is totally persuasive, and biology and all the physical sciences, and in mathematics and in logic. The whole point about the laws of non-contradiction and those kinds of things is that they assume a kind of cause and effect, a kind of relationship between the assertion and the conditions prior to the assertion that make it possible. But I don't think any of that applies to human consciousness, where I do think freedom of the will is the proper subject of human consciousness. Because all of those people that I mentioned, and many of the others who subscribe to, Sapolsky is like a classic case of this, biologist, rejection of freedom of the will, do so on the basis of this: everything has a precondition. So when you're born, Sapolsky's argument, even in the womb, you are the product of the hormones, the chemicals in your mother's womb, what's happening in the environment, whether there's the temperatures are high or low, or whether they're carcinogenic. Everything's like in this mechanical and physical atomic universe, everything has a precondition. So nothing that emerges or develops does so, as it were, outside of the causal chain. But when you ask those people about consciousness, I think most people will admit, even today, even though we've got all the evidence around the correlations, the neurological correlations between certain aspects of consciousness, what Chalmers calls the easy problem, there's still a vast literature and army out there about the insuperability or the lack of resolution of what is called the hard problem, the problem of subjectivity, intersubjectivity. How do you know the minds of other people? Is my red your red? All that kind of qualia stuff. Now, I'm going to come on to this later on, but for now, it seems a bit bizarre for people who, at the same time, acknowledge the limitations of our knowledge about consciousness, claim there's no such thing as free will. If the source of the thing you're talking about is not known, how can you pronounce on its character? So the light bulb issue, or the thing that occurred to me today, and this is part of the point I'm trying to make, is step outside of the physical, biological, material grounding of determinism for a minute. Focus on consciousness as it operates in its actions, rather than trying to define it and pin it down. Understand that it always operates on the basis of intentionality, and I mean intentionality in the psychological and the physiological sense. I don't mean in terms of purposefulness. I mean in about something. Consciousness is always about something or towards something. But the aboutness and the towardsness, in my judgment, is also a critical part of the focus you give to things. What do you pay attention to? And when I look at this and consider it for a bit, I can't see any causal chain in terms of antecedent, before and after, that would enable me to fully understand what it is I pay attention to, particularly if I want to do so, as it were, in my relationships to the world. And so, for example, I could, within the space of a few minutes, reflect on my daughter's birthday, my partner's poor health, the condition of the boat I'm staying on at the moment, the weather outside, what is happening in the world, generally speaking, with Trump and Elon Musk and all that catastrophic stuff that's impacting on the global economy. I could be focusing my attention on a bird that I can just hear outside, or on my guitar, which is sitting there, and it might inspire me to play a tune. I could be thinking about my grandson, Erin, who's just over 2 weeks old. I could be thinking about my past. I could be thinking about my future. I could be thinking about this stuff. I am not convinced, and I will remain to be convinced. So if you have an idea of any drop-down arguments that will dissuade me from this, that my choices of what I pay attention to are predetermined. Now, I use that word, predetermined, right? So I'm pretty sure that my interlocutors would say, we don't mean predetermined, we just mean determined. Like the rock rolling down the mountain, it's determined that it will go down the mountain because it has to obey the laws of physics, which are around gravity. We can't absolutely predetermine each bounce and nuance in its speed and trajectory, because there's too many variables in there. But within the generality, we can say that the rock falling down the mountain has a determinant quality to it. in the same way as all of your thoughts that you just described, 8 or 9 different things that you chose to focus your attention on, have a precondition attached to it. And then my trump to that is no, it doesn't, because I could have chosen. It's not just about choice. Sorry, I could focus on any myriad of different things. So it's not even about multiplicity of choice. It's about this simple fact. What is it that you pay attention to, right? And what you pay attention to is not a product of cause and effect. It's a quality of your relationships to the world as mediated by your consciousness. So, can I do this? Does it work? Do I need to go away and think about how to present the ideas? But anyway, I'm giving it a shot for now.